How you doing? Um, Look, the events in Boulder have just shaken me to the core. And, you get so bombarded with news that there are 10 dead, including police officer in Colorado supermarket shooting. We had 8 people shot, 6 Asian women just last week. And we've had more reports of violence and violence and violence. And what happens is that we say what's going on, and we, myself included, find ourselves reaching for reasons that have to do with racism and basically otherism. Somebody has a problem, and I decided to basically get my head right and look at this another way, from the economic way that I have been trained to look at, and I wanted to be trained to look at for my life, for so many years of my life, right? And I use this screenshot that I want to show you the picture of, and that's this. Uh, this is a chart. What this shows United States initial jobless claims, 67 to 2021 data. All right. Now, if I hit the max, let me show you something. There's the max right there. All right. Look at this. Look carefully. What it shows is this gigantic spike in jobless claims was April 20th. Excuse me, not 20th, but April of 2020 during the pandemic. And this reduction here is where we are right now. But look at that line. Over this entire period that line is bigger than any line before it in this entire history. Point I'm making is that this video is showing, pure and simple, that we have the biggest economic problem we've had over this period of our industrial existence as a country, from 67 to now. All right. And you would say, why am I showing that? With it, someone says, what the blank is the title? And it's very simple, because data has shown, going all the way back to, for me, the change of the country from manufacturing to tech-based economy, which is, arguably still in transition, but that was the major shift. All right. And then we started seeing the offshoring of jobs to cheaper areas and everything else. But what happened? Okay. What happened during that time was we also, from an academic standpoint, got funding for schools that form the bedrock of modern government. The John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University, the LBJ School of Government at Texas, the Goldman School of Public Policy at Berkeley, right? And the significance of those schools and the kind of thinking that they fermented was a more systemic application of analysis of how government allocates its resources. And with that came study by scholars like Larry Bluestone and Bennett Harrison in a book famously called, because that was its title, The Deindustrialization of America. And in that, they found, among other things, and hence the relevance to the title, that as unemployment rates went up, so did violence, domestic violence, and so on. And something happened along this course, right here, all right? Along this course, is that we got more and more guns and our population increased. Okay. And our communications technology allowed us to find our little niches and talk to people who we think are like us. All that happened along here. But this is without precedent. Take a look at what happens when I reduce it back from 67, let's say for the last 10 years. Okay? See that? How about the last 25 years? This includes the recession. We thought was the Great Recession, we called it, just around the time the stock market crashed and President Obama came in and with Vice President Biden, now President Biden introduced our first economic stimulus. The one we have is much greater, but it has to be because of this. And guess what, folks? My assertion is this: we can't stop there. I estimated last year that we were $9.8 trillion behind in the investment we needed to bring the economy back because the pandemic caused us to be quite literally, by policy and action, cut the legs out of the economy. Many people would say we didn't have any choice because if you just kept people out there milling about, a greater number would die. As it was, we've lost over 500,000 people. We need to stop going after each other. We need to think strategically as a group of people. We need to stop referring to people as different races when in point of fact, we're really all one race of people. We need to get smart. Less emotion, more intellect. More problem solving, far less name calling. How about none? Okay? If you're of that mindset, I don't care how old you are, stop. Just plain stop doing it in your tracks. And ask yourself, hey, do you know how to calculate gross domestic product? I do. Okay. C plus I plus exports. And then the big G is government, right? Okay. Equaling the Y. All right. So there you go. I can make that into a song. You understand the significance of economic change. Understand what it means when a store closes in your neighborhood. Who lost their jobs? Where they purchased from and who was hurt. Understand what it means to have to purchase something online, wait for it to come from someplace else. Understand how your economy works. And I'm not talking about these stupid political references you hear all the time, like, oh, this socialism and all this stuff by people who have no idea what they're talking about, and they don't. There's a lot of name calling and a lot of name calling out of processes that the people that have nothing to do with how this economy works. You understand? You want to understand how your economy works? I will tell you. All you have to do is either give money to someone or get it from them. That process is the heart of it. He says, I think suicide, this respondent, is a bigger issue than mass shootings. But what's your point? If you don't understand, look, I'm going to say this. I made my point. I showed you that. If I had to do that and show you and understand, rewind this, go back and look at it again and again and again. All right? Economics and how economics impacts your society and behavior, things you should understand or be interested in. And you shouldn't want to have to be, at this point, I shouldn't have to explain it. It should be crystal clear to you. If it's not crystal clear to you, that is not my problem, okay? Joblessness does not have mass shootings. Yes, it does. Joblessness does drive mass shootings. Joblessness drives higher, and this is proven academically. This is why you've come to the right place to learn these things, all right? Joblessness drives domestic violence, all right? And and the specific problem is simply we don't have enough money sloshing around the economy. People need more money. We need bigger stimulus for businesses, all right, and everything else. And not only that, all right, mass shootings are crimes. We've had 2 of them in 2 weeks, and not only that, I remind you what you're saying. Look at this. This is the highest this has been. Look at the max, all right? This is unprecedented, and yet you're going to tell me that common events that fit back here, all right, and they're not statistically minimal either. That's not true. Webinar 777, you need to do some studying. You're completely wrong, okay? This is higher than everything else before it, all right? Everything. This period, this small period we're experiencing is bigger than anything else. So you can't compare the past to the present. The past is not prologue. We are in a brand new, no, FBI statistics, you don't know how, nah, this is like a conservative thing you're pitching, okay? You're wrong, okay? Put your brain on, stop the answers, or get out. You're wrong, okay? Or I will kick you out. I'm serious about that. I am not dealing with that crap. You come here, you put your brain on, you think, all right? And you know what? You're gone. Good, bye, because I'm going to get rid of you. Either you leave, and folks I'm talking to, okay, either you leave or I get rid of you. Out. I will get rid of you. Excuse me. You are gone. You are gone, you are gone, you are gone, okay? Okay? Bye, okay? Gone, okay? So my point is this, okay? This, all right? I will not tolerate this liberal conservative crap. This is about economic math and how the economy works. The pure underpinnings of it. The pure underpinnings are simply media of exchange, monetary exchange from me to you, and the rate of it. That is where it all starts and finishes. And right now, we don't have enough money in the system. It's very simple. The stimulus wasn't big enough. It should have been $3,000 per person. We do not have an infrastructure plan. And we don't have room for anybody politically that is going to basically, jettison something. And I'm not really looking for a conversation right now. I am telling you what the problem is, all right? I'll be 60 next year. I've got, all right? Okay? So, okay? So, boom. Okay? I am dictating terms. I am explaining to you how the economy works, like it or not. This is not a discussion. This is an instruction. Because I've had it with a discourse. I've had it with this constant misinformation out there. I've had it with people who are aiming these ridiculous ideas and everything. The simple fact of the matter is we don't have enough money in this economy. The pandemic has squeezed it out, and it's a worldwide problem, and we have to go and start pumping money into the economy at an even greater rate in order to get our economy back to where it was. And we need to have a plan. Every single building in the United States, and I mean every single one, every single building in the United States should have some kind of UV air cleaning system. There should be an air filtration system to filter out viruses that have never been there before. What I mean by that is, the cleaning systems have never been there before. And we have to have a timeline to say, we will put these filtration systems in, we will finance them from, say, June to August. And have an ambitious plan ran by cities, not private sector, but the cities directed, because we've had enough of the private sector directing the allocation of the stimulus and giving people complicated paperwork to fill out and everything, and causing them more stress that they don't want to deal with, when people are quite literally losing their shirts. This is ridiculous, and it's got to stop. And so we need direction, and we need a plan, and we need activation. We don't need debate or discussion. We need to get to work in fixing this economy the way it's supposed to be fixed right now. I don't care what your political stripe is. The economy only works one way. If you go into a drugstore to buy something, it doesn't say, oh, well, you're a Republican, so you purchase things this way. Or you're a Democrat, and you purchase them this way. No, everybody purchases their things the same damn way. So I've had it with us, okay? We're in trouble. And the only way we're going to straighten this out is by getting much more money in this economy, and to everybody. We can't say, well, it's just people under a certain amount and assume that the people over it have more than we do, because their bills are bigger. All right? We have to be about the task of improving the flow of money through our economy, just as we would take aspirin to improve the flow of blood through our system. That's what we have to do. Otherwise, this is going to get worse. And we're going to be further and further at each other and assuming that. And then worse yet, we're going to be at the whim of public relations consultants who are hired to manipulate how you think by, that's right, manipulating the very social media you use to tell you how to think about things, what messages to put out, getting into arguments with you. You think that's a person, and maybe it's a bot or an actor, and you're being manipulated for a reason. And that happens far more than you realize, folks. You have doubts? I thought you might. Let me show you something real quick, okay? For those of you out there who are the doubting Thomases, as they say, who would think that people are not trying to manipulate you. Oh, contraire. Oh, contraire. This, what I'm about to show you, is something that originally was released in this New York Times article. Take a look at this, all right? Hold on a second. Just want to make sure that comes up here. And there. One moment, please. It should come through. It didn't come through. Okay, so I'm going to do this a different way. Side group PDF. Let's see here. Here it is. This is the side group. Reality is a matter of perception. Shape reality. Leaders in intelligence and influence. We know that individuals, corporations, governments, and others face a multitude of challenges in today's rapidly shifting environment and need a strong competitive advantage to stay ahead of the pack. Psi offers comprehensive, creative, and proprietary solutions that integrate cutting-edge intelligence capabilities and our unique influence expertise to tackle the most complex and diverse challenges faced by our clients. Cutting-edge intelligence capabilities, unique influence expertise equals creative solutions to the most complex problems. Okay? Sai has vast experience across a broad range of sectors, including corporate due diligence, litigation support, technology, telecommunications, finance, infrastructure, transportation, industry, and government relations. Sai's diverse set of capabilities enables us to offer our clients a broad portfolio of value added intelligence, influence, and security services, leading to unparalleled results while maintaining full compliance with the laws of the countries in which we operate. Look at this: intelligence, influence, online reputation management, offline campaigns, online campaigns, honey traps, dedicated activities, fun stuff, as I call it. Okay, this is my area. Anyway, that's Zenny 62 Media's area. Anyway, there is a reason I'm talking to you about this. Okay, all right. So, okay, intelligence collection. All right, cyber ops, automated collection and monitoring. Now, this group was the one that Rick Gates wanted to hire. You heard me, to do this, and let me show you what I'm presenting. Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, you can. Let me show you where I got this. Okay. That's a great question. Thank you for the great question. Side group piece PDF is what I typed. Right. This is from the Wall Street Journal Public Resources Documents Side Group PDF. Okay. So if you go back here, that's that, right? Okay. And there, side group firm brochure. Okay. And then there are these different links. Okay. Here's a great PDF. The tactics. Look at this. The tactics of Israel. Side group Black Cube. All right. Black Cube. Project Rome. Campaign Intelligence and Influence Service. All right. Whistleblower motion for letters of request. Side group. Did Russian trolls have company? Okay. Did Russian trolls have company? New evidence on Israel-based side groups' possible social media efforts in 2016 election. Get the picture? All right. And then much ink has been spilled on the role of the Russia-backed internet research agencies engaging in disinformation tactics to help the Trump campaign. But, all right, but a little known private Israeli intelligence firm may well have done precisely the same thing, according to new information by an independent organization that tracks such efforts. This is back in 2018. See the date? See that? Okay. The New York Times was the first to report on a meeting between Donald Trump Jr., Eric Prince, and George Nader in 2016 that included Joel Zamel, the founder of Side Group, an Israel-based private intelligence firm that sold social media manipulation services. Read that, social media manipulation services. The meeting was in part to pitch Side Group's proposal to use thousands of fake social media accounts to promote Mr. Trump's candidacy on platforms like Facebook. All right, folks, that is where QAnon was born. It was FBI anon first, and it morphed into QAnon. But it started with this. It started with that effort. And then it recruited paid actors with their social media personas in 2016 and 2017. Take a look at when Marjorie Taylor Greene started her Twitter account. It was 2017. And take a look at the persona she adopted. She wasn't the only one to run for office. She succeeded of that group. This was planned, folks. And therein lay the reason why she continued and continues to pump out this rhetoric even after she won the election, because a normal congressperson focuses on getting resources to their district. They drop the rhetoric and they start working for their district. Notice she hasn't done that. And that should be a red flag to anybody. Congress people are not supposed to do that. They're supposed to get resources for the people of their district. Money. Okay? But instead, this goes back to my point. These actors are manipulating us at the time when our economy is the weakest. They started doing it when our economy was relatively healthy, but we still had a divide, an income divide, which is now much greater. Now you would say, Zinni, why are you interested in that? Well, I'm interested in it because I'll be blunt with you. I believe that you should understand how your society works, and in terms of getting out a message, what levers to push and not. This is my company. This is Zenny 62 Media. All right. We report on the news, but we also do reputation management. We're open about what we do. Okay. We tell our clients' story. We protect their reputation fast and frequently. Very often, we are the counter to organizations like the Side Group. That's what my young startup does. This is fun stuff, folks. You understand what's going on? Get involved with what I'm doing. This is fun stuff. Building websites, messages, figuring out online and off how to do it. The idea of actors came about way back when Twitter was born. People were making these different accounts. I did that way back then. But it wasn't a bad thing. Why? Because like Round Table Pizza had these different actors. You know, they had Queen Guinevere, right? So Queen Guinevere had her own Twitter account, right? So when you put it in marketing parlance, it looks like it's just fine, because it is. And that's really how it started off. King Arthur had his own Twitter account. So you had Arthur over here and Guinevere, and they had their favorite pizzas, and they were telling you about the specials and all that, and where you could get them in the Bay Area. It's pretty ingenious, pretty genius. I didn't create it, all right? I thought it was cool, all right? I thought it was cool. So, point I'm making is, this is the future. And we've allowed ourselves to get to this point. It's logical outgrowth of web technology. You want to know something else that's just as bad? Let me show you. I love the number of bots, bad bots, which now are about 1 out of every 3 traffic bots online around the world is a bad bot. A bot that's trying to take down your website or steal your information. A bot that works automatically. This is where we are today, folks. And so in all of this manipulation, what we need to focus on, you say, what's the driver in all this complexity? It's money. We need to make sure that everybody has enough money to live. Because this isolation has hurt us. We haven't quite got down the technologically the way to make it work. We're getting there. I think a lot of people Zoom very well. But I wanted to share that with you. All right. And if you have any questions about my company, all you got to do is send me an email. Okay. Are you assuming you are a proponent of UBL? Or I didn't see that. Let me go to that came up really quick. Let's see here. Trouble is I can't see. I'm on the smartphone. I can't quite see what you're. I can't wait for Godzilla versus Kong. I am in favor of a guaranteed minimum standard of income. By the way, do you know who created that concept? Do you know the first president to write, advance, and consider that policy in the United States? It's a quiz for you. I'm waiting. President Richard M. Nixon. That's right, Richard M. Nixon. Richard M. Nixon called it, and this is the way it was originally, no, Richard M. Nixon, it wasn't FDR. Richard M. Nixon was the first president to consider the guaranteed minimum standard of income. And it worked like this. There's a baseline, and if you fell below that baseline, the government was going to make up the gap between where you were and the baseline. But the reason why he didn't do it had to do with race, because they felt that was more a black problem, and they didn't want to be seen, assisting, providing that kind of assistance. I'm not kidding you, okay? In fact, I'm saying this, and all you got to do is go to Google, type guaranteed minimum income, and then Nixon, okay? Which I just did, all right? And here it is. It says, okay. In 1968, James Tobin, Paul Samuelson, John Kenneth Galbraith, my intellectual hero, and another 1,200 economists signed a document calling for the United States Congress to introduce in that year a system of income guarantees and supplements. In 1969, President Richard Nixon's Family Assistance Plan would have paid a minimum income to poor families, all right? And something called The Correspondent has something I've never seen before. It says, The Bizarre Tale of President Nixon and His Basic Income Bill. This is by Rutger Bregman. I have to get him on the show. And he talks about how it was the summer of 69. And basically, he writes about how, it says, Richard Nixon was not the most likely candidate to pursue the old utopian dream, but then history sometimes does have a strange sense of humor. That's true. All right. This section refers to the letter. And then there's something called The Shadow of Speedom Land. And there's a report titled A Short History of a Family Security System. And then it had these excerpts from the sociologist Carlo Polanyi's classic book, The Great Transformation of 1944. And in the 7th chapter, Polanyi describes one of the world's first welfare systems, known as the Speedlam system in 19th century England. This system bore a suspiciously close resemblance to basic income. And Polanyi's judgment of the system was devastating, and it apparently cited the poor to greater idleness, dampening their productivity and wages. It threatened the very foundations of capitalism. It introduced a less social and economic innovation than the right to live. Polanyi wrote, and it was until it was abolished in 1834 and effectively prevented the establishment of a competitive labor market, is what he claims. In the end, Speedlam resulted in the pauperization of the masses at the time, who, according to Polanyi, almost lost their human shape. A basic income introduced not a floor, but a ceiling. And he said at the top of the briefing presented to Nixon was a quote by the Spanish-American writer George Sanayan. He says, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." And so the president was stunned. This is why Nixon didn't do it, because he felt if we implemented it now, or then rather, it would basically induce laziness, okay? Here's the problem with that entire point of view. The reason why it's apt to do now is because we have an entirely different set of economic relationships that make it necessary. By that I mean a guaranteed minimum income. First of all, decade after decade of pushing means of production offshore. In 1986, when I wrote my study in undergraduate school of the economic impact of defense spending in the United States, I discovered that 88% of every defense dollar stayed in the United States and went to build, military bases, fighter jets, that sort of thing. Things that people think are bad, but they led to the development of local economies and that drugstore that you buy stuff at and everything else, right? But do you realize today that the majority of the defense expenditure money that we get, that's non-personnel, goes out of the United States to the tune of 80%? In other words, we flip the equation around because we don't make things here like we used to. We make more things here, the defense money stays here. The defense money stays here, and we benefit from it. When it stays here, what's happened? We're better able to pay higher wages, okay? But when you go someplace else, when you send the production to other places that are cheaper, what happens? You don't get back because it's cheaper, they make it. And in order to compete overseas, you have to lower your prices and your labor costs. So what does that mean? It means that we can't easily afford to maintain even our own housing because we're not paying people enough. We're starting to a situation where the housing starts to what? Decay. How do we prevent that? We have to pump more money in the system. How do we do that? A guaranteed minimum income. That's why we need it. The advance of technology that makes, this is what Andrew Yang was saying when he was running for president, makes the need even greater. Why? Because it's not just offshoring of production, it's the mechanization of production, the continued process of having machines, like my printer here, all right, do the work that in the past we'd have some, send off to somebody and they'd do it. It took them a long time to print up something like this, right? Just takes a few seconds. Brilliant invention. But it was done by a machine. Okay? It's this constant application of technology, constant seeking of cheaper, better, cheaper, faster processes that have conspired to rip our economy's ability to maintain itself down. That is what's going on. And we cannot maintain it without some type of subsidy. The other choice? You say, well, hey, call back all the people that are making things. But guess what? You apply automation. What happens? Same thing. And what is going on while that's happening? We're adding more people to this earth and to the United States, which means what? Which means that the money is spread around. If you're not increasing the money, guess what's happening? There's less money per capita. What does that spell? The problem that we've got right now. Exacerbated because of the pandemic. You getting it? That's systems thinking, folks. System dynamics. Love it. It's my religion other than God. All right? System dynamics created in 1956 by MIT professor J. Forster, consisting of a modeling paradigm. Okay? And someone wrote a comment here. He says, it seems we have an economy built off war. We have so much invested in weapons and based around the world. We do have an economy. That's true. That is true. War, and we still do today. Take a look at the number of veterans we have in the United States compared to the total number of employed people, and look at how it's increased over the years. You'll be shocked. I think, by my estimation, 1 out of every 8 people in the adult working population is a veteran. 1 out of every 10. That's substantial. I've never seen a rate like that before. So when you watch television, you keep saying, how come I keep seeing these, USAA commercials? Well, it's because there are a lot of veterans out there that benefit from it. That's why. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We have to move away from a wartime footing. We have to think about the war as maintaining. The war is really maintaining our lifestyle. That's the real war. Andrew says, but out of curiosity, aren't you offsetting the lack of income by the lowering of prices overall? a lot of tech is more accessible now than would have been had production stayed. No, well, no, because you have to remember something that doesn't apply to housing, right? You're thinking about products like flashlights. Housing, different story, okay? Home is not going to say, oh, gee, yeah, yeah, better technology. So, hey, that real estate guy is going to start lowering his prices. Real estate people are greedy, man. All right. Okay. University says vets are a commodity like prisoners in the prison system. I don't know. I don't want to insult vets. Um, the United States Army has given people an ability to gain an education where they couldn't afford one. And I mean, if you look at it from that standpoint, I mean, I see what you're saying. Your example was a bit harsh, all right? But there nonetheless, okay? But there nonetheless, right? So the bottom line is that we need a bigger stimulus, folks. And that's what's staring us in the face. And if we don't get that and we don't hurry up now, he says, um, do you think things will change for the better in the future? I hope so. Because what's going on is just depressing. I just have to be honest, it is just really depressing. Depressing to, have to go out and worry about whether or not where the place you go into is going to be the site of the next mass shooting. And it quite literally feels like Russian roulette now. That's not the way we should live, you know. I think the simplest way to get ourselves out of this situation that can be done like tomorrow is if we go out, and I think that's the other part of it. We need to go out, but when we do, smile. And also stay off social media if you're going to get on social media, say something nice to a person. Write something nice, not say, but write it. Because there's a different mentality that comes out when a person is writing things. People write things they'll never say in public. Don't do that. Okay? Don't look for a person to disagree with. If you have to do that, you're contributing to the problem. And there are millions of people out there doing that. And Andres, he says, what's preventing a landlord or real estate person from increasing their rent prices along with additional stimulus? They do. And that does happen. And well, no, but it's a great question. It's a great question. I didn't look at it that way. I mean, there's a tone, right? That I think, okay. But I don't mind the disagreement. But my point is, I happen to think it's a great question. And I'll use California redevelopment as an example. Because what happened in that case was rather than we have rent control in California on the one hand, all right, so we impose rent controls, which are still active, and keeping my place in Oakland, right, allows me to do that. And we had what's called a 20% affordable housing set aside for redevelopment. What does that mean? It means that in Oakland's case, most of it's flatlands redevelopment, meaning that the $1 you pay in property tax, which of course is greater than $1, but it was normally divided between BART, AC Transit, the EB Mud Flood Control District, okay, and the school system. But when the redevelopment, all that $1 went to the redevelopment agency, and it used that money, collecting it through a process called tax increment financing, where depending on the redevelopment plan, they would use it to, say, give you a grant so that you could upgrade your home, your walls, your windows, called code enforcement, right? Or your business facility, right? That sort of thing. Or buy plant and equipment, or provide security, okay? That sort of thing, right? Well, the 20% set aside for affordable housing was used to fill in the gap between what it took in terms of revenue to pay off a multi-unit building, right? which might lead to high rents, okay? And what it would take to make the rents more manageable and more affordable. That gap was provided by redevelopment. That's how you do it. We had that. My point is, we had that society in California. Jerry Brown took it away because he didn't like that money was going to subsidized housing in areas where he felt downtown in Oakland and every place else. Oh, hey, this should be for the rich. Well, not exactly. We had a great thing in Oakland. If we had maintained redevelopment, we would not have the homeless population problem we have today in Oakland. We would have so much affordable housing, it would never have been able to develop. We had the right formula. We had it. Okay? We had it. So it's not like we have never done these things before. So Compton says, I hear you, Mr. Z, but let's get real. It's been going on for some time, and now what you will change it. You call for the change. It doesn't matter if you put out there and say to your congressperson, hey, we need to do X. All it takes at times is the right placed message, tweet, phone call, all right, to an elected official. Movements don't always have to start with huge groups. Sometimes they can start with one or two people, just one person with a right ping. You are the change. Just like I'm talking right now to you, right? Okay. University of Mars says, 76 says, I mean no disrespect. You're talking about University of Mars, like, oh, the Sistrunk, right? My mom knew him. I meant no disrespect to vets, just pointing out how those would profit from the war may see things. I should have worded that better. Sorry. No, gotcha. Well, folks, it's 2:00 here. And been on talking about this for 47 minutes. And hey, tomorrow at 3:00 out on the West Coast, Lee Steinberg will be on. We'll be talking about the new NFL media deal. We'll see you all. Thanks. See you, Dave. All right, later. And subscribe to Zany62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. Thank you. And great questions.